Okay, let's just hope you can hear me. Yeah, I have a new setup. This is something I bought a while ago because I was going to use it for streaming. Yeah, that's fun. I'm using my phone camera right now. I got a webcam for Christmas, but I don't have the opportunity to use it. But I do have this. It's like a clamp that just sits on the table. Anyways, video 3. I know. I said I'd talk about integrity today, why it's kind of necessary, like explain why it's one of the core cruxes to my belief system. We'll get to that next time. This is something that I started to elaborate on during the last video. Yeah. Oh, by the way, this is the shirt I was wearing last time. Fun shirt. Yeah. So the last time, one of the things I brought up, I sort of started to go into it, but I realized, yeah, no, that was not enough to really talk about. Let's talk about why our political system has been failing. And I touched base on it last time. One of the leading causes is complacency. I use the term lazy to go with it. There's other things, but for right now, let's just call it slothfulness, I guess. The reason why I'm using that specific word will come up later, but basically I'll probably make a series on the 7 deadly sins and why those are. I wouldn't say why those are in society. I'm gonna say what outcomes are coming about them. And believe me, right now in society, they are so intertwined that it's a little hard to separate them. But first of all, let's talk about one of the addictions society has. Yeah, I brought this around today. One of my favorite drinks. I mean, obviously, Dr. Pepper isn't coming out with their dark berry again for a long time if they ever bring it back out. But this is my second favorite, orange vanilla Coke. Yeah, I'm bad. You could say I'm addicted to high fructose corn syrup, and you would be right. And I know I should feel bad about that, but at the same time, I'm working to fix that. That is I'm admitting I'm addicted to sugar. I think the vast majority of Americans should admit they're addicted to sugar too. But this is just one of the many symptoms of what's going on in America. It starts way earlier in the cycle to say that we're all addicted to sugar. Realistically, we're all addicted to this idea that we can rest, even though there's still more work to be done. Usually it's okay to say, yes, you have to rest, but it's more pervasive than that. I'm trying to think how to put this. We're all just, I'm saying lazy because that's the easiest term to use. It has gotten into our politics because no one is caring. The people that should be running for office don't want to put up with the heavy lifting. The people that shouldn't be running for office are. And they are extremely charismatic. They will put in the effort, and then they'll get the position and just keep it, and they'll sell out. That is a huge issue in our society. So today I'm talking about laziness because I started to touch on it on the last one, but basically our society has been our media has been using this against us since before I was born. They've probably been using it since my mom was, when my mom was a kid, they were selling cigarette commercials. They were using cigarette commercials that were appealing to kids. That is extremely corrupt. My mom literally has told me when she was a kid, she used to sing to the tunes of the cigarette commercials. That is extremely disgusting. But basically, our media system, when corporations sell ads, the media systems do not screen them really well, and they really didn't back then. The government had to step in and stop what a lot of these, darn it, Is that... That's just... 1 second. There, that helps. Sorry about that. Oh, is that on my screen? Oh, it's just a dirty part of my screen. Whatever. Sorry about that. Anyways, the media doesn't screen, like, it doesn't care. As long as you pay enough money, you can run almost any ad. There's a few small restrictions, like, seriously, you're not gonna be able to put breasts on a commercial. Like, if it's a bra commercial, you'll probably be allowed to have the woman partially clothed to show the bra off. But, like, beyond that, like, there's a lot of smaller things, like, there's a lot of boundaries that are put up, but there's still not enough. Sex is still heavily sold across, like, it's heavily used to sell products, and it's just being blasted in our faces. It's put in a lot of television. Like, it's just straight up being sold. Like, I'm trying to think of what more recent shows I've seen that has an issue. This is an older show, but it does show whatever. I'll just use Grey's Anatomy to start with. Like, seriously, like, there's so much sex. It's disgusting. Like, I still watch it because it's fun once in a while to let my brain just chill and do brainless stuff. Let it think on other things while that's going on. And I just get past all the sex scenes. But that's just because I've also already seen it at least once, and when you are on, like, Netflix, where I watch it, it has, like, a little window down at the bottom when you're skipping through stuff, and you can just fast forward as much as you can through it. But anyways, to the main point, our media companies are not screening. Like, they'll just sell anything. If you watch Tim Pool's, he has 3 channels. One of them, his podcast channel, they're already in contact with Fox to sell Our Pillow. Obviously, there's no way on earth this tiny little channel is going to be getting sponsored by them, but, like, still, you can sell literally almost anything, and a lot of places actually do really corrupt advertising. It's in all the commercials, it's in almost all the shows. If you want to know how bad it is, if you've seen the show Big Mouth, I think that's it. Anyways, there are literally shows that are drawn as cartoons, but are super sexualized. Like, when you're drawing a cartoon, usually it's for an audience, in America, it's usually for an audience of young adults, and it's straight up all sex, and it's using children, and clearly, that's beyond corrupt. That show should not have ever aired. They should have been like, ethically, is this an okay thing to show? No. I think there was another movie called Cutie Pies where it had live girls doing sexual acts in the movie, and it didn't cut them out. I know it's supposed to be like a documentary, and that was their excuse, but, like, no. You just tell these people what's going on. You show them some of the costumes they're wearing, which are really scantily clad. Like, our media is selling us sex and dulling us, and it's working. Like, you don't see nearly enough people contesting to run for office, and the ones that are like, even challengers aren't that good. And that's disappointing. It goes beyond that. Like, our obesity rates are like 30%. Now, of course, I'd be considered obese. And I have a lot of muscle, so that, like, helps. But my BMI is still pretty high. I think, like, you need, like, a BMI of, like, 20 to be considered obese. And 20's a little high, not to be considered obese. Like, I'm not saying the scale is bad. I'm saying the scale, it should be brought down some. I think 15's probably fair. And the reason why I say this is because, like, we have a huge issue with blood pressure, heart disease. We have all these issues that come with people. Oh, come on. Oh, I'm gonna have to move. Darn it. I'll do it for the next video. The sun's going down again, and this is just when I come out and do the videos. Anyways, we have all these people that have health issues coming from their obesity. And a lot of those health issues are what put people at risk of dying from common diseases like the flu and now COVID. And you also start seeing other health risks that aren't as common, but do not exist among people nearly as often who aren't obese. You will see people's joints just start being shredded because they're obese. Right now, I am trying to get to a point where I can start running because I've had asthma for a long time, and I get that, and I will grow out of it once I know I'll just grow out of it once I lose my weight, like seriously. And it'll just be easier on my body. Right now, I know I have to take more supplements to make sure my bones are good. Because I tried to run earlier, about, 2 months ago. I tried to start adding running into my exercising, and my bones just wouldn't hold up. I'd get, maybe an eighth of a mile, and my bones were aching. And I was just like, there's no way. I'm going to let them just regrow, and I'll just start working on to lose the weight, and then we'll get back into running. There is no way that the 30+% of our population can be considered healthy. Allergies again, sorry. But anyways, it leads to a lot of other issues. Like, let's see, in some places it's actually like a culture to be drinking massive amounts of sugar. There are, in Indiana, it's okay for adults to be eating cereal with milk, and there are, normally we shouldn't be drinking milk, period, after we're 5, because we don't need that. Even if people say calcium, you can just take supplements. Milk has a lot of things, yeah, sure, we can feed it to our kids, but after a certain point, we should be lactose intolerant. We started drinking milk and eating cheese back when we needed a source of food, and we would rather just put up with the consequences. So yes, even though the vast majority of us can't, I wouldn't say the vast majority, I'd say a good portion of those of us who started eating milk products are no longer lactose intolerant. That's not the way it used to be. I'd say it was just probably 600 years ago, when the vast majority of us white folk, just the vast majority of us period, were not in America. But I'm gonna say the most of us were white folk were in Europe, and we were eating cheese back then. We were eating cheese, we were drinking milk because it was a source of protein, a little bit, but it was a high source of calories. Lactose is in this group of sugars that's just easily available for us to digest. And, it is when we're babies, but a lot of us manage to keep those proteins around because we just didn't shut off those genes. But basically, milk is basically like drinking pop. Not verbatim, but it's still a lot of sugar. There's just a whole lot of health issues that our society has been pushing. Why are we forcing kids to drink milk past the age of 5? Once they are out of kindergarten, they should be drinking water. We are encouraging kids to drink juice, and I'm not talking actual healthy juices that are packed with vitamins and stuff. I'm saying watered down orange juice. I am saying grape juice out of these cardboard boxes. That's not juice. That's just sugar water with some flavoring, basically. If you look at a lot of the sugar contents of our drinks, the high fructose corn syrup contents of the drinks, it's just massive. Like, in almost every drink you find in the grocery store, the top 3 ingredients will be water, high fructose corn syrup, and probably sucrose, which is another sugar. What do you think about that? Like, really, we as a society have been dulled by, we've been made lazy because we get massive amounts of calories easily. We've been dulled by being overweight, and because we don't have to work as much for our calories. And we're also being dulled by all the sex on television. We aren't actively trying to make the world better because it's good enough for us right now. Our brain isn't telling us, hey, you need to go change something. And a lot of people are just dying from obesity, and I'll say obesity instead of all these other health things, because obesity is what's causing it. And our society is good with that. Our government's okay with that. And there should be this way to change the way, like there should be a push to change the way our society is going. We can start with school lunches. Simply put, stop serving fried food. Stop giving kids milk and juice that isn't good for them. Give them actual fruit. And I'm not talking grapes. I'm not talking strawberries. If we give them actual oranges, strawberries will work. Grapefruit, stuff with a lot of antioxidants. We should be serving them stuff that doesn't have salt. We should be, salt enough for flavoring, not enough for packing. We should be using the farmers around us, or the farmers as close as we can get, to bring in as fresh of crops as possible. We should not be serving them whatever junk they fry up to us. I don't even know if we can call it meat at this point. Like, they're already showing that they're trying to do away with meat, and I'm almost certain that we're getting like the worst cuts of meat possible when we give our kids food at school. There's just this complacency about us that says we can send our kids to the government, and we think they'll be fed well and taught well, and that'll all be factual and there won't be any bias. The teachers are there for the kids, right? And no, the teachers are there for their paychecks. The lunch ladies, I'll say lunch ladies, but that's just because the vast majority of the cafeteria people are going to be women, because they decide they want to have a job while their kids are at school, and they only go in there for a couple hours. But anyways, I'll say the teachers, male or female, it's a little bit more female leading, like 60-40. Where I live, lunch ladies, like, they're not there for the kids, they're there for the paycheck. If they were there, you wouldn't have teachers moving to get jobs. You wouldn't have incentives like you have right now to get teachers to come to your state. There are massive incentives within states to cancel teacher debt to have them come. And we have them in Indiana. I know Kentucky has them. There's a lot of places that have them. I have a cousin who got her master's in education with a focus in disabled students. I forget what it's called, but like physically challenged students, mentally challenged students. She needs to use the state to pay off her debt, because there's no way she's going to pay it off with her teacher salary. There are massive incentives for it not to be a community effort, for it to be pay people to come in and teach your kids, and that's not the right answer. We have been complacent for a long time, and it's biting us in the butt, because now we are, I'll find the correct sources for this time, but we are now having teachers come in, completely racist teachers, against white people. And the sad thing is they're white also, and they call themselves like white traitors or whatever. But anyways, this story came out of New York. We now have racist teachers segregating students, especially white students, and that is crazy. And we've let this happen. It doesn't help that we have massive amounts of poverty, and then they're looking to the government for handouts. because we don't have enough work. I mean, yes, there is the argument that they should be looking for work and they should get it, but then what about the people that do work, 2 full-time jobs, and they can still barely feed their families? That's less of an issue here in Indiana, but still, like, they have to work that hard, and they have to send their kids to school. You know what? I'm getting thirsty, and I know I shouldn't be drinking sugar, but it's too good not to. But anyways, you see my point. We are, in a lot of ways, making it, for some time we made it cheaper just to go out and buy fast food, to go out and buy pop. And now we are raising the prices of those, and people don't know how to cook. They don't know how to do their own laundry very well. I've seen a lot of people that just don't know how to do things. I had to teach one of my friends who was 23 how to pump gas. Really. This was last year. Last time I talked to him, whenever I was playing D&D with these guys. Like, people do not know life skills. And that's because we send kids off to school without teaching them this stuff that we expect the teachers to. And then the kids say we're not getting taught this stuff, and we ignore them. And then they become adults, and they don't know what to do with their lives. And we send a lot of kids off to college. And that's where the cycle gets worse, because I'll be frank with you, the vast majority of professors are all narcissistic and very liberal. I shouldn't even say liberal. They are left-wing extremists that believe in equity of outcome instead of, well, that's what equity is, equality of outcome, instead of equality of start. Because let's just be honest, like, I have had multiple friends who have had different intellectual, like, they're at different places intellectually. One of my good friends, I haven't seen him in a long time because he played D&D with the guys I had to leave, and I just haven't seen him. He probably has an IQ of 95. He's still relatively intelligent because he looks for information, but he has a learning disability. I've met a lot of women that just don't try to learn. Yeah, even, I'll say, my family personally, there are a lot of women that just don't try to learn. I understand if you're bad at a certain subject like math, but, like, there's plenty of opportunity to learn stuff and to do good for yourself. And we're just becoming complacent. We're letting huge corporations take over the marketplace. They have monopolies now, and that was forced because we used COVID lockdowns, and now everyone's going to work for these people. Even the small business owners that used to make, like, $80,000 a year are now forced to make like $30,000 to $40,000 a year. That's bad. That's kind of like standard in Indiana. We let this happen to ourselves. We gave all of our reins to the government, and it was just like, take over while we go work. And while we, eat a whole bunch of junk food, drink a whole bunch of soda. Yes, I am bad. I am cutting it back slowly. Hence why, I brought it out here about 40% empty instead of, 70% empty. But, yeah, we've let our country fall into shambles. So, yeah, that's the first deadly sin. There we go. That's one of the biggest reasons why our country's failing. It's because we didn't do anything about it. We let other people take care of us, and now they are laughing at us and being like, hey, yeah, we're still taking care of you, but we're going to take everything we can from you and just leave you with the bare minimums while we have all the power, and we control your lives through government. That's not fun. And I didn't get a say in this. People, 10 years older than me, they might have started to have a say in this. It was my parents and their parents, really. Literally my grandfather was, I believe he was in World War II. I don't remember specifically, but my grandfather was was literally born over 100 years ago. My grandfather on my mom's side, because she's the youngest of 8. And, like, he was born, like, 1890 something. Late 1800s. A lot of people that were born back then would realize, oh shoot, we didn't raise our kids well enough. We didn't do good enough for ourselves. So now our grandchildren, our great-grandchildren are having to hold the bags for our failures. They would be thinking that. Right now, my parents, my aunts and uncles, they're not thinking that. That's a scary thing. They're not thinking, oh shoot, we messed up. We didn't speak up. We didn't do what was right. They're not thinking that. They're thinking, okay, government, what next? What do we do next? How high do I jump? That's bad. We shouldn't have let the government take control of our education. There's no way that was a good idea. Yes, it'd be nice to have standardized, but I think we should have the government set a standard and say, you have to meet these minimum requirements, go from there. Thankfully, Indiana, we're at least outperforming most of the rest of the states, but that's not saying a lot considering we have the United States still has one of the worst school systems on the planet. Indiana has a lot of STEM because we have a lot of engineers, and we have a lot of pharmaceuticals. We have Eli Lilly, we have Cummins. There's just a lot of room, and like we have Purdue, we have IU Med. I'm pretty sure IU Med's still in the top 10 medical institutes. If you want an arts degree, IU's actually the place to go, sadly. I'm not getting into the liberal arts discussion right now, but I'm still going back to say we let the wrong educators in, and now we're paying the consequences. Because my mother still is a diehard Republican, and I rag on it every once in a while. Like, she just says, yeah, sure, Trump, let's go. Yeah, sure, Senator Walker, let's go. And that's sad because he goes to church with us, and I would not vote for him. I'll just be clear, like, there's a lot of people in our government that I wouldn't vote for, and he's one of them, and he's at my church, he's an elder, and I just wouldn't vote. Like, he's an okay guy, but, like, I would not put him in office. There's a lot of things people aren't doing. They aren't doing due diligence and research. They trust the government too much because we're complacent. We just get handouts. Oh shoot, wow, we got a whole bunch in tax returns. How nice. There's just so much that's wrong. And complacency is one of the easiest places to start. Because we are being fed sex, we are being fed sugar, and we are being fed what to think. And we're only allowed to be fed what to think when the government is feeding us, well, when we're being fed sugar and sex. That's literally how it is, guys. When we let the government start to dictate where our culture is going, that's bad. And that's what we did. That's what we did when we handed over our school systems to the government. That's what we did when we started letting our universities accept money from the government. Like being paid by the government to teach certain things, have certain curriculum, that kind of stuff. We just let it happen. So when you ask why our politicians are bad, and let me say this woke idea, it's probably started in our government by people, like in our elites, those elites wanted to push a certain idea to try to split the country, and then they paid our teachers start pushing this idea. The teacher said, wow, that sounds good. That sounds really good. Yes, it is a woman's right to abort her baby. Yes, it is a woman's right to go have sex with whoever she wants. Yes, it is a good idea to say, go take these pills and go have sex, and just make sure to get consent. Make sure it's the guy you want to sleep with. Yeah. There's a whole lot of steps people are skipping nowadays. And it's because they're being told it's okay to skip these steps now. It's really not healthy for our society. And it's part of the reason why our society has started to become brittle. I'll get into Now, I'll wait way longer to get into these arguments that I'm going to call them the far left, but realistically, they're so strong that they've shifted politics in this nation a little hard, and a lot of Republicans nowadays have shifted to the point where, like, yeah, sure, let's let abortion be okay. Let's let women and men have sex with whoever they want. There's no legal contracts, right? You just sleep around, and as long as there's consent, woohoo. Yeah, I'm not saying we use legal arguments. I'm not saying we use legal efforts to control that kind of stuff. I'm saying there was a social issue before there was a legal issue, and it was caused by the people that want to make it a legal issue eventually, because people have money and they put money where they want to go, where they want culture to shift. That's what happened. I'll get into that conversation later, but for right now, we let this happen. We didn't step up and say, hey, what you're teaching is wrong. We taught our kids to respect those who are in authority, and then we also taught our kids those teachers are the authority. Not that they have authority, but that they are the authority, and that's an issue. That's like saying they're big brother. Thank you for your time. I really, really like feedback. Like, now if it just ends up reiterating that I'm right, then so be it. And like, I'm cool with having grown-up discussions, but make them logical. Do your best to make them logical. If I start getting a hint of emotion thrown in there, I'm just going to walk away. That's what's going to happen. I'm using logic here, and you should be too. You have to use logic to get through these things. I'm cool if you bring up statistics? Yeah, if you bring up statistics and graphs, I will gladly read those. But if you start bringing up case studies individually, those don't prove anything. Those prove that there's a small possibility of something happening or working, but it doesn't say that's what's going to happen every time, or this percentage of time. In fact, the only thing it's saying is this percentage of time this happened, and that percentage is extremely small. So we need to talk statistics, math. This is one of the things where I say, drop emotion if you're coming to the table. That's how I function. That's how you should function if you decide to talk with me. I love feedback though. So thank you, and you will see me on the next video.